While we still have some others coming in, I'd like to introduce Akash Raju. He is the co-founder and CEO of Glimpse, who is a partner of Naturally New York, and we greatly appreciate their support this year. This is actually our first introduction to AI at Naturally New York. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to him to get all your burning questions answered. Akash?
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. Really excited to be putting together this webinar and, many more to come. We're excited to, help introduce all of the exciting things about AI into, with the CPG industry. And today we'll sort of walk through a lot of different examples, go through some live demos, and then, answer any questions that anyone has. Just to, I guess, kick it off, we can use the chat, but if anyone wants to engage, we'd love to learn who has used AI tools in the audience so far. Feel free to just send a 1 if you've used any AI tool before, or 2 if you haven't yet. That can help orient some of the topics throughout the webinar. Cool. So jumping in. Want to just preface by saying, AI is already here. We're already seeing applications of AI, in different capacities. Some examples that, have stood out to me over the past year or so, different headlines. One, Klarna, a big consumer technology company, wrote a big press release saying that 2/3 of their customer service chats were able to be handled by their AI assistant. And that was, fascinating seeing already the immediate impacts of AI. Another example right here on the bottom right, that's Saul Khan. You may know him, founder of Khan Academy. I grew up, with a lot of Khan Academy videos to help me get through school. And this is a really exciting demo that I would encourage everyone in the audience to watch, but it's actually a back and forth with an AI tutor, with Saul, his kid, and an AI tutor that's giving live feedback as they solve questions. And that was really exciting because a lot of learning, was one way. Just, you watch a video and you learn, but being able to have that back and forth feedback has been really exciting. And another headline, I guess we'll see over the coming months in terms of the efficacy, but a company launched the first AI software engineer, and they had a demo where there was an AI that solved the full engineering problem completely back and forth and built a full software application. And that was fascinating. And as we, tie back to the role of CPG, a question that we've been getting a lot of, and the question that I've been thinking about is what does that mean for us? How can we start using AI in our day-to-day? And just a little bit about myself before we go in. I'll sort of walk through demos, etc. One of the co-founders and the CEO of Glimpse. We're building the first AI-powered deduction service. So, me and my co-founders, we sort of have talked to, at this point, hundreds of CPG brands over the past couple of years, just learning about different workflows, pain points, and have been building with AI now for the past 2 years. And just learning about a lot of these different applications and tools and how they can sort of impact the CPG industry. Glimpse is a venture-backed startup. We've raised $6.2 million from leading investors like Y Combinator. And previously, my co-founders and I built the largest product placement network for consumer brands to place their products through short-term rentals. So we've been in the CPG industry now for the past 4.5 years. And my background myself, I'm a computer engineer from Purdue, worked at companies like Microsoft and Tesla, and have been around AI now ever since, it started coming in the headlines over the past 2 years or so. Today, the main thing that I wanted to cover and walk through is practical uses of AI for CPG businesses. I think there's, a lot of fear, a lot of excitement, just a lot of, I guess, feelings around what AI can sort of do. And the way that I like to think about it is, what can AI do for us today versus what can it do for us tomorrow? There's a lot of exciting applications, maybe the things, we saw in movies or what the definitions of AI was, like AI has been over the past like 20 years or so. Some of that's starting to come into reality today. Some of the things, like emotional AI, et cetera, might take time to come, but there's a lot of things that businesses can start doing, and start using AI and just implementing various use cases of AI into their day-to-day workflows. Then that's what I want to cover. So starting off, as I've been in the CPG industry and just learning about different workflows, different use cases, or just like, what people do sort of day to day. There are a couple of immediate areas that stand out in terms of where AI can make an immediate impact. So one is document extraction. So shipping, supply chain information, invoices, purchase orders, deductions, et cetera. There's tons and tons of paperwork, both in CPG and just in industries in general, where an immediate use case of AI is to be able to actually pull out relevant information to save that manual work, to help with things like data entry, understanding context from documents, et cetera. Another use case of AI, and for me it was an aha moment in terms of immediate applications, is data analysis. Surprisingly enough, something like an LLM or like ChatGPT is really good at writing things like SQL or like Excel macros, et cetera. Customer service, I mentioned that Klarna headline, being able to sort of draft communication, respond in like strong natural language, et cetera, are also immediate use cases of AI. I think here, there's definitely some considerations around like tone of voice, et cetera. But in terms of being able to get part of the way there, can definitely do a good job. Process automation is something that I'm really excited about. A lot of manual workflows where, using tools or solutions where AI can play a role can start saving hours and hours of time for people. Marketing is another popular use case where AI can help in, drafting social media posts, creating images, et cetera. And finally, this one definitely has sort of mixed emotions, but like note taking, like AI note takers are a very popular use case of AI so far. So we won't be able to cover everything today. I laid out some strong use cases where AI can play a role. In terms of what I wanted to walk through today, are sort of 3 different ways to practically start using AI in your business today. So one, our off-the-shelf tool, something that you can immediately go sign up for a free trial. It might be a free tool, a really low monthly cost, and you sort of start just using it for its specific use case itself. And I'll sort of talk through some examples. I'll actually like live demo a couple of examples, et cetera. Another thing that I'll cover, which I think is an exciting application, is being able to build some of these tools yourself. I think one of the exciting things that AI has done is sort of level the playing field in terms of being able to build software first solutions or software first tools to like help yourself and help your business. And finally, just some scalable AI software solutions that are sort of out there in the market, and kind of consider like the pros and cons across the board. So I'll kind of pause here. One thing I just wanted to mention is throughout all the things I cover, feel free to ask any questions in the chat or message me or Adrienne directly. We'll have a structured sort of FAQ and Q&A at the end of the session, but feel free to engage directly as well, especially as I go through any of the demos. And I may ask some questions for the audience as well, just to get like a gut check on people's levels of familiarity with some of the tools that I'll mention. So now as we jump in, starting off the bat, the first thing that I'll cover are off-the-shelf tools. So this, the first thing we can kind of walk through is Chat GPT and some of the ways that that can be useful today. So just a quick pulse check, and feel free to message the chat or message me directly. Or just a quick one or two. Just send a one if you've used Chat GPT at all, or if you know what Chat GPT is, and then send a two if you've never used Chat GPT before. Awesome. Yeah. Seems like a lot of people are familiar or have used ChatGPT. So this will be exciting, since can definitely walk through some immediate examples that that we've seen be useful in the CPG off the bat. So I'll walk through two live demos here. One is sort of that document extraction that I mentioned, and two are some examples of data analysis. So what we can do is start off with data analysis. So one of the things that I've spent a lot of time looking at are just, our sales data. And, obviously a lot of CPG businesses sell into retail, sell direct to consumer, et cetera. And there's a lot of data that just comes in that you need to be able to make valuable for you. So for the sake of this webinar, I went ahead and made a dummy data set, essentially, that we can use, and we can see some examples of how ChatGPT can help us analyze this data. So you can see that we have dates, regions, units sold, dollar sales, and SKUs. So what we can do is first export this as a CSV, and we can go to ChatGPT and actually ask some questions to better understand this data. So there's a couple of use cases that I've seen be immensely valuable using ChatGPT. So one is being able to just understand raw data quickly. Two are creating visualizations and actually being able to create tangible value from the data. And three, specifically in CPG, one use case has been being able to tell a story with that data. Use that for buyer meetings, for investors, et cetera. So what we can do first here is just ask, we can use Chat GPT, look at this data, and quickly just ask, let me just plot or create a graph that shows me my sales by product by month. And you can see here, one of the exciting things is, give me 1 second, is that because ChatGPT and OpenAI, I guess, takes in so much data across the internet, it can actually write software to be able to answer these questions. And we can see here the live, exactly how it's doing it. So you can see here that it's using Python to be able to actually output and analyze the data. So pandas is a popular Python library. This is something that would take someone time to program and actually build. And you can see here that it can actually output something. Let's ask a simpler question, I guess. Can you please provide me my top selling products and my sales for these products? So I'm just and you can see here that it actually shows you the trail of thought, so you can understand exactly what it's doing as well. So for Joel, your question, so you can actually do this with any sort of model. So even with the free version, like using ChatGPT 3.5, you can actually also prompt, raw data and import data. The main difference, I would say, is that the quality of output improves with each model. So yeah, it's a good call out in that in this question, in this interface, we're using ChatGPT 4.0, which is their latest model. So there's a lot of new updates in terms of the speed in which you can answer questions, etc. But you can actually do this in the free version of ChatGPT as well. And the pro version of GPT is $20 a month. So definitely, as you start seeing value, you can do that. But you can sign up today for free and submit, put in like a CSV of data and start just asking and prompting questions to better understand your data. For me, the aha moment with ChatGPT was when I had to, write a lot of SQL, and I was able to accelerate the time I was spending and thinking of what the actual SQL queries to write just by using ChatGPT. And Melissa, that's a really good question. I'll sort of talk about that in the pros and cons when evaluating what types of tools to use. Because like a good consideration, definitely with using an off-the-shelf tool like ChatGPT, is that you are uploading data as well. So you're uploading data to OpenAI, and that's where some considerations like using a third-party software solution that emphasizes data security, et cetera, is is important for sure. So this is one example where you can start using things like ChatGPT for data analysis off the bat. Definitely, there's like important considerations like data security, which model you're using, et cetera. But the main thing to highlight is that it can do a really good job with things like SQL, Python, creating visualizations, et cetera. And we'll talk about this a little bit later as well. But ChatGPT is an off-the-shelf tool that can cover a variety of use cases. There's tools that have also been developed that focus on specific use cases. For example, there's a tool called like Julius.ai that just focuses on data analysis, or using a tool like Midjourney to create collateral, et cetera. The next example we can talk through that ChatGPT does a really good job with is document extraction. So we can see here that we have like a dummy invoice with relevant details like who is it being billed to, who is it being paid to, what the line items, et cetera. And especially in CPG, especially as volume scales, you can be receiving hundreds of these in your inbox every single day. And someone may need to like manually go through all of these to pull out the relevant data and then enter it into whatever your internal ERP or accounting system is, et cetera. Another thing that AI is really good with is document extraction. So we can see here, I have this raw PDF, and what we can do is just ask, extract out the invoice number, the customer, and the invoice amount. And we can see here, it super quickly pulled out the invoice number, the customer, and the invoice amount. And if we go here, the invoice number is 1024. The customer is the really great company. And then finally, the invoice amount is $875. And you can see here that it was able to super quickly pull out all the relevant detail with immensely high accuracy. And volume is where time really becomes, a big time sink. So another really exciting use case, especially in CPG, is being able to extract relevant details from a lot of this documentation and to save up that manual time that could be spent doing other things. So data entry is another really great use case. Other off-the-shelf tools that I've seen provide a lot of value in terms of just like day-to-day workflow, and what I would say are practical use cases to start introducing AI to create time efficiencies. So one is a tool called perplexity.ai. So this is actually a tool, I mean, maybe a little bit biased because it's something that I've started using in my day-to-day. It's essentially a chat-based search engine that's connected to the internet in real time. So instead of searching something in Google, getting a lot of different ads, like random search results, etc. Perplexity has a different user-based workflow where you can essentially search anything in the same way you'd ask Google, but get directly the answer in a very summarized format. For me, this was a tool that really started just easily like becoming a part of my day-to-day workflow. And it was for me like probably one of like the most important introductions to AI in terms of it becoming like a part of my day-to-day life. Another thing that in terms of like very easy introductions to AI are AI note takers. I've seen, a lot of people start using them in Zoom meetings, meetings with people, etc., to be able to get summaries of notes instead of needing to manually take notes. That helps one, recollect information from meetings, but two, you now have data that you can use to further analyze any takeaways from meetings, etc. The perspective in which I look at these two tools are in terms of like ease to get started with just using AI in your day-to-day life. And another tool that I think has been really interesting is, a lot of folks use Canva already day to day just to create collateral, et cetera, but they've been definitely pioneers in adding in a lot of AI functionality in Canva where you can just type in natural language, a type of graphic you want, and you can essentially get a starting point for creating collateral. And that can help with the creative process, et cetera. In terms of like pros and cons, I think, with everything that we sort of consider with the types of AI tools to use, even using AI in your business or in your day-to-day, I think there's always pros and cons to consider. I think with off-the-shelf tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, et cetera, I think the biggest pro is that it's easy to get started. So tied to the question we received earlier around like, do you need to have the latest models or do you need to be paying to use these tools? All these tools have free versions that you can just start using immediately and start getting immediate value. So ChatGPT has a free version where you can just start prompting it, asking whatever questions. Some of the examples that we didn't walk through today, or even just asking ChatGPT to draft buyer communication, draft sales emails, draft customer service, etc. But those are things you can start doing. And one interesting thing is that you can actually create your own GPTs as well. So I'll actually just quickly show that live. But I just downloaded this like yesterday, but I saw someone made a CPG explainer where you can just ask questions about CPG. The person has ingested a lot of data where it gives you high value. This is only available in the paid version, which is $20 a month, but it's just an exciting thing because you can kind of make your own. GPTs. And the question that came in the chat from Mike. So the latest models, like GPT 4.0, one of the things that they really emphasized in their demos to the public were translation. So definitely a tool like ChatGPT, even off the shelf, can help translate like US product labels to another language. So something that definitely would be like at least worth testing out yourself and seeing if you can sort of try that. And then the other pro is that tools like ChatGPT can be a catch-all for use cases. So, there's obviously applications of AI in so many things across the board, from sales, marketing, to supply chain, et cetera. In terms of the main cons of using an off-the-shelf tool like this, so one, this is a question that came in the chat as well, is that the data you are putting into the system is being sent to systems like OpenAI. Like the main caveat is that getting so much value for free data is probably like the trade-off. And then the other version is that you can't really create an automated process just using a tool like ChatGPT and the interface they provided. For example, the way that I showed the demo, that was like one PDF, one output, and you have to keep manually uploading PDFs yourself. So, that's like the main considerations that I would mention here. The next option that I think is really exciting, and I think one of the most exciting applications of AI is the fact that it levels the playing field for people be able to start building tools and automations in-house. And there's a lot of software tools that allow you to sort of start thinking about like process automation, SOPs, etc., and sort of doing it yourself. So a live demo that I'll walk through here is that same PDF extraction, but making it an automated process with your inbox. So just as a recap, again, we sort of see here, this is the invoice that we have for this demo. So we have the invoice number, the customer details, etc. And the tool that we'll walk through today is called Zapier. So Zapier is a drag and drop tool that allows you to stitch together different systems to create an automated process. So they're essentially an automation software, and they've invested really heavily in having AI be a part of this function. So for the sake of the demo, I've already mapped out what a Zap could look like in this case, but they also have functionality where you can chat with Zapier and they'll help stitch together the tools for you. In terms of like imagining what this workflow can sort of do for you, we can take the example of receiving PDF at a high volume just in your inbox. So say you have an inbox where you receive your sales orders and you're receiving like purchased orders every single day, maybe like 200 in a week. What you can do with Zapier or any of these automation tools that you can actually build yourself is do the same thing of the document extraction, but as an automated process that gets triggered by when a new attachment comes in your Gmail. So I like Zapier because it's very intuitive to think about the workflow, but you can sort of see here, there's like a new attachment in Gmail. And then we can sort of see here that it sends in all of like this raw information, but it has the actual document. For the sake of this demo, the exciting thing about Zapier is that you can add in just so many different tools that can all integrate together. But what we'll do in this situation is we basically can take the PDF that comes in and pull out all the relevant information. And in this step, what we can see here is that we turn that PDF into a TXT file. So using this step, we transform the text file or the PDF file into a text. You can see here that it's like an unstructured format, but all the relevant information is sort of coming in. And then the exciting application of AI is that now we can actually send this to ChatGPT every single time. And you can see here that I basically prompted it in the same way that we use ChatGPT to pull out the invoice number, account name, and total invoice amount. And we can actually test this step live. So if I do retest step, we can see here that we basically sent a prompt to like OpenAI, and they outputted the exact output that we needed. And then the final step to be able to organize this is that we can create a row in like a Google Sheet or whatever you're using. You can send this to like QuickBooks, or if you have an ERP system, etc. If we go back here, we can retest the step and you can see that it gets created live. And now you have an output where you have like an invoice number, account name, total invoice amount. So by setting up a Zap like this, you can essentially automate the full process of receiving an attachment at the PDF, pulling out the relevant details, and actually automating the whole data entry process as well. And especially with volume, this can be a process that takes hours and hours a week. And now because of tools like Zapier, you can actually own that step-by-step process and build it yourself in-house to automate random processes. Like other examples can be, just small automations like sending a message in Slack or sending yourself an email when something happens. And now with a lot of the AI functionality, you can actually like use the Zapier AI to help design this out for you. So I think that, this was like a big eye opener for me as well, because rather than needing to know how to like write software fully on your own, write thousands of lines of code, you can use a tool like this to automate specific processes, let different systems talk to each other. But also now with a lot of the AI applications, you can still use the magic and the functionality of a tool like OpenAI or ChatGPT, but have it become a repeated process. So instead of needing to go into ChatGPT and drop like one PDF at a time, you can have it become an automated process. I would say the main pros with building your own tools are you can own the design and customize it for your use case. And that can be, very custom on an organization by organization basis. And you can also create repeatable process automation. And that's really exciting because you can save hours of time without needing to, hire a new full-time person, or you can have people that are already doing this, these tasks manually now spend their time in other functions. But the main cons are obviously that one, it requires a learning curve, though a much smaller learning curve than software, for example. And it'll require oversight to make sure that it's like working in the way that you want. But definitely, you can save a lot of time by introducing things like automation and small AI processes across your business. And finally, the third option to consider when determining like a practical use of AI is like using actual third-party softwares that are designed to solve specific problems utilizing AI. So the main example can walk through what we're building at Glimpse, where we're basically utilizing a lot of the like functionalities and underlying technologies that I've talked through, but specifically focusing on like the deductions process for CPG brands. So like a quick like what it sort of looks like, you can sort of see here like a brand that might receive like hundreds of deductions every single week. It's hard to go through every single PDF and understand what the deduction is, like what distribution center, what retailer, what product it's like valid for. Basically, we've built an underlying AI infrastructure to be able to pull out all those relevant details, categorize it, etc. But on top of that, started adding in functionality to actually identify invalid deductions and dispute those. So for example, the AI can sort of go in, classify the deduction, give you all the context you need to know about a specific deduction, but also create like a dispute message if it's an invalid deduction, and look at like the relevant sources to determine validity or if it's invalid. And this is an exciting use case, especially in CPG, because deductions are one of those processes that just take hours and hours of time, but it's also important because it affects the bottom line of the business. So we basically took a lot of the underlying technologies, functionalities of AI and applied it towards just like one specific use case. And like the main pros with using third-party tools, one is sort of like the data security consideration. I would say a lot of companies that are building AI first software solutions take that into account, be able to keep a customer's data private, since that's an important consideration for a lot of organizations, especially with things like sales data or anything confidential, et cetera. And scale, and also software solutions are designed to be scalable because of the volume in which they handle and being able to handle multiple customers. And then finally, I think the exciting thing about software being designed with AI first principles, as opposed to software designed 10, 15 years ago, is that it's inherently designed to reduce manual steps when using the tools. Because the AI specific workflows, like, I mentioned like automations, et cetera, are all designed from like first principles. I would say the main cons when using like software solutions are, one, like specific use cases. So, it's like hard to like for a company to build everything. So, you have to focus on a specific use case. And then also it's less customizable than building it yourself. Like the main consideration in the Zapier example or in the ChatGPT example versus in this Glimpse example is that, Glimpse is designed for a specific use case. It obviously, it focuses on data security, scalability, et cetera, but it's, less customizable because it's like a design platform. Whereas with Zapier, you can choose your tools, et cetera. So, that's kind of like the layout between the three options to get started with AI. Next we can I wanted to just talk about like what can I do for you? Like what can me and my co-founders, what can we do for the attendees of this webinar? And then we can sort of jump into like questions, and definitely want to be able to answer how people are thinking about AI. Like, the goal of this webinar is to really talk through like practical use cases of AI. Like the goal of it was to help understand how can you start using AI in whatever capacity today. Like if you wanted to introduce it into your day-to-day life or into your business, what are like the best ways to get started? So off the bat, one of the things that we've put together is just a primer on tools. So today in this webinar, we went through specific tools that are very popular, like Zapier, ChatGPT, etc. This primer doc basically just lays out a lot of these more niche tools in terms of different functionalities. And as you can see here, we lay out just like a high level overview on AI and like how to think about it, but we also just start laying out tools. For example, we mentioned ChatGPT. We basically compiled resources on how to prompt it, tools to be able to determine images. In marketing, what are some tools that we've seen people rave about? How to think about tools with AI for internal operations, tools for e-commerce, etc. And this is just a free resource that we've put together. To get access to it, we'll sort of send it after the webinar, but you can also just send an email directly. The next thing is that now that me and my co-founders, we've been spending so much time just deep in AI, but also just in CPG, it's always exciting for us to help folks understand like the best ways to get started, like the goal of this webinar. So we're also just offering office hours, like our calendars are available, just to like talk through how to think about AI in your organization, no strings attached. We basically see a lot of applications and use cases from our perspective, being more on the side of building the tools and utilizing the tools. So we are just providing, time for anyone thinking about their organization, more specifically, helping understand like, okay, if I have these tools, how can I think about automating X, Y, and Z? Or do you recommend like this tool, or how would you use ChatGPT for X? And feel free to scan the QR code or go to that link. That's something that we can offer. And then finally, for everyone attending the webinar itself, in terms of our primary offering, which is our AI-powered deduction service, we're offering a 2-month free trial for attendees of the chat. And then also, no strings attached, we're offering a free KeHE and Whole Foods sales dashboard where we can pull in a lot of the data reporting, and we have like a module that can help brands understand their sales, velocity, inventory levels, etc. And this is an offer that we're offering exclusively to the attendees of the webinar. And we'll sort of send this after as well, but you can also feel free to reach out to me directly to schedule a demo. And then finally, want to use the remaining time to just answer any questions. I have a couple of frequently asked questions that I've been asked as well, but can use the remaining time to answer any questions that anyone might have. But thank you so much for the time.
Thank you, Akash. For folks on the call, if you would like to raise your hand, drop a question in the chat, DM me directly, by all means, please do so. I personally am wowed by the functionality here. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I mean, while we're also waiting for questions, can sort of talk through some of these frequently asked questions that we receive all the time. Not even as like founders of an AI company, but just in general, like really important considerations. So starting off, one is about data security. I can talk about that, but I think we got a question in the chat. First of all, yeah, thank you, Mike. Definitely excited to chat more and talk about how AI can help your business. Yeah, so Joel, to answer your question in terms of Glimpse itself, so essentially we're building an AI-powered deduction service in the way that we integrate with KeHE and Unify. So for KeHE, we have built a custom integration to be able to integrate directly into the KeHE Connect portal, and we can pull in all deductions and backups that come into Ksolve. And then for Unify, we have an integration that directly integrates with your inbox. And in that inbox, we start pulling in all of the backups and also the remittances, and then map that in our dashboard as well. So those are like the two ways that we integrate with KeHE and Unify today. And yeah, and then also tied to our deduction service, once we integrate, we pull in all historic deductions. But then we also start pulling in deductions every single day. So you have a daily view into your deductions that come in, always automatically categorized with relevant details pulled out. And then our software is always sort of monitoring deductions for validity. Yeah, and Mike, yeah, definitely that's something that we have seen firsthand, and now with all of our customers, we see how much of a beast it is. So definitely, we're excited to be able to solve this problem and help brands fight their deductions.
Hi, Akash, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
With Zapier, can you use it to create organic workflows for automation and include triggers into our HCM platform or HubSpot, for example?
Yeah, that's like a really good use case of Zapier. So what Zapier started off as a business was a tool that basically just integrated across so many different tools. For example, HubSpot is like one example, and then they have a lot of off-the-shelf tools. There are ways to also create like slightly custom integrations with Zapier as well. It might require a little bit more of a technical understanding of like APIs, but they have like thousands of tools that you can integrate to, and you can now use like Zapier's like magic AI to essentially just like type in natural language. Like, I want to create an integration that pulls this tool and places it into my HubSpot, and it'll create the skeleton for you. Then all you have to do is go into each of those like each of these squares and just edit the relevant details. And they have guides and provide you steps on how to connect like your HubSpot, for example. So it's a really good tool that I'd recommend for like that example of like updating something in HubSpot based on like X trigger, for example. And just like a quick visualization, for example, you can see here that like HubSpot is like an example, and you can sort of see like what are all of the different actions here. So for example, you can add a contact to a list, you can add a contact to a workflow, you can create a contact, create a deal, etc. So it seems like they have a lot. And it just worth just kind of like trying to stitch something together to see what you can do. If it's not possible, I would recommend then, you can look for like consultants or see if there's like a third-party software that's building that specific workflow.
Does anyone else have another question for Akash? As a reminder, we will be routing the presentation in addition to the recording of the webinar, the Calendly link that they shared for office hours, and the promotion details. So be sure to take advantage of that. Thank you again to Glimpse for offering that. Until we have another question pop up, I want to give a quick announcement just about some things that are coming up here at Naturally New York. So tomorrow we're actually hosting an event in recognition of AAPI Awareness Month, and a special gift to all of you. You are welcome to attend with a complimentary pass using the code GLIMPSE at checkout when you register here. And we have a lot of great events coming up, so I definitely recommend you check out our full list, including our Pitch Slam competition, which is going to be hosted at the Metropolitan Pavilion on Thursday, June 13th. It's going to be our biggest event of the year. and really gearing up to be a great one. We have a $150,000 prize package that 5 finalist brands are going to be competing for. Should be a really good time.
Awesome. I'll be there. Cool.
We still have some time. If anyone else would like to raise their hand, unmute themselves, drop a question. If not, we'll give you some time back today.
Cool. Awesome. And yeah, biggest takeaway from this that I would want to leave with everyone is to just at least start using some of these tools, start getting familiar. It is, becoming a part of a lot of companies and people, like, it's like a hot topic, obviously, but just starting to use some of these tools in your day-to-day can help identify, like, how can it improve time for you. I think it's a little bit different for everyone, and a lot of the things mentioned today were really oriented towards just like what's a practical use case, like within CPG directly, or what's the way to start using a tool like in your day-to-day life to see if you can see any efficiency gains. And like, yeah, for me personally, like Perplexity, Chat GPT have become, 2 parts of like 2 tools that I use like every single day at this point, and that's not something I would have expected like a year ago. So definitely would recommend everyone to start trying out these tools. And yeah, like if can talk, one-on-one directly about this as well through the office hours. So yeah, thank you so much. This QR code is just to all of my different booking links. So whether it's for a deductions demo or to the office hours, feel free to reach out. But yeah, thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining and for the feedback. And if you have any feedback as well, definitely want to be able to improve this. So feel free to let me know as well.
Thank you so much, Akash. We truly appreciate it. We'll be sharing all of this within the next day or so. And have a great rest of the week, everyone.